Well, here we are again with our Ask the Experts show. It's Tuesday evening, and we love this show. We came up with it because we love experts and we feel we're all experts. So tonight we have a very, very special expert to introduce you to. So, first of all, I'm Lady Lou, the baby boomer babe, and welcome to all of you in our audience, and welcome to all of our panel. Our panel includes our dear friend Ilene Dillon. Say hello,
Hi,
Ilene.
everyone. Hi.
Oh,
Nice to be here. Thank you.
she's way out there in California dealing with some of the wildfires, and we keep saying prayers for her and for California. And our very special co host tonight is Deb Nabors. Hello, Deb. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great evening, ladies.
Thank you. And Deb said, well, Eileen asked her before the show came on, is what did she do for fun? And she says, well, I love making money. I like that, Deb. That's wonderful.
I learned something already, and we hadn't even started. That was great.
And drum roll, we have our expert tonight, our own very special Marion LaSalle. And she's just waiting for me to give her this weird introduction. So I'm just going to give you the plain old simple truth. Marion is a dear friend. She is a brilliant woman. She is into technology. She's an author. She's a trainer, a technology trainer, and all kinds of other training too. And she's just got the biggest heart of anybody I've ever known. I've known her maybe 30 years now, and it's like we're sisters. We've always known each other, I'm sure. And Marion is going to be talking about how to reset for success, because all of us sometimes need that resetting of our lives, of our thinking even, and of our doing, so that we can have that success that we choose. So thank you, Marion, for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So you've listened, Lou, you've listened to Marion talk about setting yourself up for success, but I have not. And I think success is a really important thing right now during all the difficulties and isolation and so forth that we're having with the COVID-19. So I'm really curious. What's the first thing you do? If you want to be successful, what's the first thing you pay attention to, Marion?
How I feel.
Nice. Good answer for you to give to me. The emotions person.
The emotions
Thank
lady,
you.
yes. Yeah, if you can't trust your gut, go with your intuition, then you're following somebody else, right? You're always saying, well, what do you think? What do you think I should do? Well, what do you think I should do?
I have a friend like that. It drives me crazy.
I interviewed a man on my radio program his name is David Ord, and he's a Christian minister, and he wrote a book about Jesus. And he pointed out, he was talking about Jesus, and he said, Jesus had a connection with God. And so if he was your friend, he would not sit there and say, well, what do you think about me? Well, what do you think about my plan? Because he knew from inside. And you're talking about following that model, which I think is really key for all of us, is to listen to what you have inside and be confident in it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. When you're really young, or sometimes when you're really old, but when you're really young, especially, you tend to want the people that are around you to like you. And you spend a lot of time working in that realm of, well, what are they going to think of me? But I think when you get to be my age, you don't care as much. You might still care, but you really don't care as much. Like, I don't really care if you know what my religion is. I don't really care if you know what my politics are. I don't usually talk about it, but I don't care if you don't like me for whatever reason you decide to come up with. I want you to, but it's not that important anymore. I don't need that. I just don't need that anymore. And that has released me. So if I could go back in time and give myself a gift, it would be that. Just don't give a toot what people think. Live your life. Go with your gut.
Oh, I love that, Marion. Well, what do you think, Deb?
So sometimes we start to question ourselves. And I've been on my way to events and thought, dear Lord, why am I going to this event? And then, well, it's because my intuition told me that was the place that I needed to be. And generally, I meet someone or make a connection so that it's very clear after I got there why I had to go. But there's just so many times like I'm tired and this is 50 miles and why am I doing this? And like Marion says, you really have to learn to trust your gut. And, and sometimes you don't know that evening why you went, but it becomes clear. And especially keeping ourselves open for that clarity, I think is so important. And, I just want to say, when I first met Marion, I was brand new to Houston, and I have never met a woman who's more kind and loving and just wants everyone to be successful. And, if you wanted something on your epitaph, there it is, Marion, because I have a lot of respect for you and, and you've always gone the extra mile. You've never done anything halfway.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, yeah, I'm glad this was recorded, You can't take that back now, Deb.
I can't take it back. And I don't want to.
No.
Yeah. When we met, we were in a networking group. It was called Referral Business Builders. Isn't that true?
It is true.
Yeah. And so if I may, I'm going to put up a little sheet that I created to kind of help us keep track of what it is that I'm talking about. And one of the reasons why I wanted to share this information. Yes, I could have come on tonight and talked about technology. I could have come on and talked about, whatever I do for a living. But what I really wanted was just like Deb said, I want everyone to be a success. And whatever that means to you, it doesn't mean that you have to be a millionaire. If you want to be a success at, tying shoelaces, then man, I want you to do it too. You know what I mean? Let's go. All right. So I'm going to put this up and I'll just read through it. And then I want to come back to something that she said. Let me take that little banner off of there. So setting yourself up for success, in my opinion, starts with finding your people, your tribe, your community, your gang, your group, whatever you want to call it. And that's where Deb and I met. I set that up because I wanted to build a business, building websites for people. That was what I was doing. And how do you meet people? Well, you go to a networking group, right? Well, guess what? I didn't like the networking groups that were out there. So I built my own. Right? I mean, if you go to the evening networking events, people are drinking wine and whatever, and people come up to you and you're just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it just seemed like they were there for the wrong reason. They weren't there to build their business. They were there to socialize, which is fine. Okay. That's good too. I like Margarita Friday. All right. But I really wanted to be around people like me who really wanted to focus on building a business. And so that's why I looked around at all the networking and I didn't see one that didn't want to charge. For me, it was like they all wanted to make money on the networking. And my goal was to not only make money, of course, but to create a group of people who could help each other with referrals and things like that. Hence the name Referral Business Builders. So that was the first thing that I did to set myself up for success. And believe me, I never paid for an ad. I ran that networking group for I don't know how many years. And I got referrals for my business the whole time. Every single website that I ever created, which was quite a few, came from a referral. And then I met Lady Lou. And I go to a networking event. It was in town. And I remember thinking, my goodness, my air conditioning's not working, and it's like July in Houston, okay? And so I wasn't going to be able to get it fixed for a couple weeks, and I said, what in the world am I going to do? And she goes, oh, Marion, I have the plan for you. Here's how you set yourself up for success. She says, you drive there an hour before you're supposed to be there. You go into the ladies' room and you cool off. Bring one of those little portable fans if you need to, and change your shirt if you need to, that kind of stuff, and freshen up. And then by the time the networking starts, you're all fresh and ready to go. So thank you. So let's move into what
can I add one thing that came up in me as you were speaking?
Of course, yes, please. I'll just go on and on. So please.
Well, the other part of what you were saying that you don't actually have on your list, but I think it's really important, is to stick to your own goals and your own vision. When you were talking about that group, it wasn't your vision. So not to give those up, because I think a lot of people do tend to give their own goals and their own vision up. So I want to put that on your list if you have room for it.
Thank you. And I do. I believe that to be true. And I'm glad I didn't give in and join one of those other groups, because they didn't have my vision, right? And here's another one where Louise is involved. She's kind of like involved in my life the whole way through. Another thing is I love to share. Okay. Not only do I want to see everybody succeed, but I want everybody to come with me, wherever we're going. Right. I like my friends with me, and I like to party and all that's good stuff. Okay. So, I mean, what's the deal? Well, I wanted to speak. I wanted to share. I wanted to share what I'm doing. Like tonight, I got so excited. I was nervous, if you can believe that. And I remember the first time I got up in front of an audience and started speaking, my knees were knocking. Knock, 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 knock. I thought I would probably faint, but I did it anyway. That's how I set myself up for success. You know how I did it? I made dates, because I don't like to break dates. I told people I'd be there. I'll be there. I'll be your speaker. I'll be on your radio show, your whatever show. I'll show up. Well, guess what? Even on the way there, I'm shaking. Okay. But that's okay. I did it anyway, because I knew that I had to set myself up by saying I'd be there.
And
Pretty
it
good,
worked.
huh?
It worked because of that. You showed up and you did whatever it was that you needed to do for you and for everyone.
I did it. I set myself up for success. Another thing I did, and I'd like to talk to Ilene about this later, maybe. I tried to set myself up for success once with walking, like a walking group. And I found out that I wouldn't show up unless somebody was going to go with me, right? So that tells you something about me, right? But I started a whole group, and I started inviting everybody I could think of, anybody in the group, anybody, my friends, my neighbors, and if I knew somebody was going to be there waiting for me, then I would go. That's how I set myself up for exercise.
And it
Speaking of
worked.
which, what happened to pickleball? We need to do pickleball again.
Thank you. I love pickleball. Do you guys know what pickleball is, Ilene?
I've heard of it, and it's been done at many of the RV places where I've stayed, but I've never done it or seen it in action.
Okay, so it's a cross between it's a cross between tennis and ping pong. So it's not as strenuous as tennis, and it's a little more work than ping pong. And you do use a racket. It kind of looks like a cross between those two. And the reason they call it pickleball is because there was a family reunion, and all they could come up with was a net for like badminton and a ping pong racket and some wiffle balls. You know, the kind of wiffle balls that have holes in them. Mm-hmm. And so Pickles kept running off with the ball. And that's how it came up to be pickleball. But, and they've wanted to change the name, and people won't let them. I mean, it's a thing now, right? But
Pickles was the dog.
Pickles was the dog, and he kept running off with the ball. Pickleball. And slowly but surely, they made it into a game. It's the fastest growing sport in the United States.
Wow.
It's really big with RVers. Can I add something on what you've just been talking about too?
Please do.
So I'm listening to you about inviting all your friends so you can get some exercise. And what that says to me about you, and something I think that's really good for all of us, is that you look at yourself and say, well, what would work for me? Who am I? So you start with who am I and what actually drives me. And then instead of driving yourself the way most of us do, I really have to go out and get exercise, you entice yourself by creating something delightful, and then you want to go. That is genius.
So if Deb calls me up next week and she says, Mary, let's set a date for pickleball, you better believe I'm going to be there.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
Hold you to that.
Okay. All right, good. They're starting to play different places. The Y now has them, you know. You have to make an appointment, but you can do it.
So what do you want people to know about you? What is there about Marion that we should know?
Wow. Well, let me go back to my list because this is really all about me, I swear to God. Okay. We talked about, listening to your intuition and trusting your gut. That should have been number one. That's a big one. Being flexible. I think that really says a lot about me. I am very, very, very flexible. You could come up with just about anything and I'd say, oh, okay, well, let's see how we can do that. Forgiving myself and forgiving others, that's a huge one. I really, I think it's played a big part in my life. Asking for help, that's a big one. I learned early on that if you don't ask for help, you're not going to get it. The answer's already no, right? If you don't ask. And then the biggest one, I think, for me right now is looking for opportunities in my mistakes. Okay. So if you want to know anything about me, you can know that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to disappoint you. I'm going to, maybe, hurt your feelings. I'm going to do something, but here's the deal. I'm going to apologize and I'm going to say I'm sorry and I'm going to mean it. And I want you to know that deep down in my heart, I care about life. I care about love. I care about anything. I don't care if it's a tree, a dog, a person, a house. I want it to be the best house. I want it to look the nicest. I want it to be clean. I want everyone to enjoy themselves. Now, I get called Pollyanna. Yes, I do. Honestly, I get called Pollyanna. And I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. I think sharing is a way for me to give back to the world. So there's lots of things you could call me. Never late for dinner and always ready to show up for Margarita Friday.
You're the social bee, girlfriend.
So Lou, what about in all these 30 plus years that you've known Marion, which one of these has been most impactful on you? Being part of her tribe, having things set up so that you know what to count on her, having her be flexible. Which one works best for you?
Oh, that's so easy because I have the same trait, and it's her sharing. This lady wants to share what she knows, what she can do to help others, what she can do on social media to share things. We have friends who never share on social media, and why not? I mean, they see good stuff that comes along, and we've often asked each other, well, what do you think is behind the reason why they don't share? The only thing I could come up with was that they're too busy or they don't think about it. What about you, Marion? What do you think causes people not to really share?
I still, that's an Eileen question because I don't understand it. I want to share everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the margaritas. I want to share it all. Okay. So I don't know why people wouldn't want to share.
Maybe they're just not there. It's not in their bailiwick or in their thinking.
I was thinking about that. Some people don't, they're just not born with that proclivity. But the other thing that strikes me is the whole issue of what I would call a poverty consciousness, where you end up thinking there isn't enough to go around, so you don't give it out, so you don't have less than what you need. And I think that underlies a lot of things that people do. And of course, we know, with your friend Joe Vitale, you start being tight, like with money. Deb, I'm sure you've run into this too. You start being tight, and everybody around you starts being tight about giving you money, right? And so the sharing, that one of the things that's outstanding to me about you, Marion, is that you have all these incredible opportunities. If you decide you're going to do something, somebody shows up, they ask you to do this, they give you a discount, they invite you over, whatever. It's just like somebody said, oh, here's a little scene in a box, and you can go in and you can participate in the whole scene, right? You do that. And I think that's reflected by the abundance philosophy that you carry with you. There's enough for everybody. There's enough to go around. There's more than enough. I think that's the key.
Yes, I do too.
I think sometimes it's environment too. I mean, if you're in a sales role and you know that if you take a day off, someone's going to steal your clients. There are industries like that, that are very cutthroat, and, they don't understand the whole, well, you're the top salesperson, so share and tell other people so they can be the top salesperson, because there's enough sales to go around. But if you're in that kind of environment, you're gonna guard your little cash,
Interesting.
So, it's, scarcity mentality is a big thing, but again, it's environment too, and it's what you've been brought up with and what you value.
I think corporate America fosters that as well, and they when you come in, not that I've had any experience, when you go in for your annual, like how'd you do and your bonuses and stuff, they want to say it's, everything that you did. But when they send you back out, you're supposed to play as a team. So everybody's like, I want to be there because I want the bonuses and whatnot. Hey, we have an audience question. This comes from Karen. Karen says, how have you maintained the variety of relationships that you have acquired over the years?
Good question.
Great question.
Oh, yeah. How am I going to answer that?
I know how you can answer that.
Oh, tell me.
Save you, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's just being you. It's a very simple answer. Just because you are who you are, you can have different types of people and friends in your life.
Oh, this brings a story up. You know how I love my stories. Now, I was in grade school, and I remember this like it was yesterday, like a movie playing. And I was playing out in the yard with a friend, a classmate, and we were having a great time. Oh, I don't know what we were doing, but we were having a fun time. And some other girls came up, or guys, I don't know, little kids, and they wanted to play too. And she said, she's my friend. You can't play with her.
Oh.
And I said, really? No, everybody gets to play together. And I remember just like really like, I don't even want to be friends with you now. How dare you be like, that, you
Selfish.
You can't have me all to yourself. No. So I remember that. And I guess I really have a lot of empathy for people who, want to be included, who don't want to be left out. Yeah.
That's big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of the things I used to teach when I was teaching business to business networking, was if you're at a meeting and you see someone standing off into the side or over in a corner, go over and say hello, or just motion to them to come on over and join your little group. I mean, is that hard to do? Inclusive. That's a middle name for you, Marion, is inclusive.
That was really hard for me to do, Lou, when I was shy.
Oh.
And I would stand around and not know what to say to people. And I finally had somebody who gave me a definition of shyness. He said it's an extreme form of self-absorption.
Oh.
Right? Because what you're doing when you're shy is you're busy thinking about what the other person is thinking about you. And 99 times out of 10, they're not.
No.
They're thinking about what are you thinking about them, right?
That's
so
funny.
So that may be also a clue, Marion, to what you do, is you think about other people and not always just about yourself.
Yes.
Here's another story that I think is so important for people to understand. And I'm not trying to change your religion or your politics. I'm really not. I just want you to hear this story, okay? So a lot of stuff has happened in my life, and I did this church, that church, this religion, that religion, tried everything. And I finally came to the conclusion church, organized religion just wasn't for me. I needed my own thing, kind of like the networking group. It's like, no, I need my own thing. I didn't make my own church. I did not do that. But I kept being drawn back to Unity of Houston is the place where I go. And I remember when I signed up to be a member, they had a little group that got together and everybody was, telling why they were there. And the first lady that stood up said, "I'm Jewish and I feel like I'm at home. That's why I'm here." And I thought, yes, finally a place where everybody's included, everybody's welcome. Whether you're black or white or tall or skinny or fat or you have okay, so devil worshippers probably wouldn't feel comfortable there, but everybody else, yeah.
Oh.
That's great. So I have a church for you that was at one time set up in San Francisco by a colleague of mine in the National Speakers Association. It was called the Church of 80% Sincerity.
Oh, oh, that's good.
What was the other 20%?
Why?
Well, I don't know what happened to the other 20%. He was a comedian. I thought it was hilarious.
Funny. That's funny. Well, let me tell you another story that happened that I think everybody here would be interested in. Even if it's not for you, I want you to share this. Okay, here we go with the sharing. So with COVID, a lot of people have lost their jobs, and a lot of people can't go back into the industry that they had thought they were going to be in for the rest of their lives. All of a sudden, it's not there. If you were an airline employee, guess what? I don't know, restaurants. There's a lot of industries that are just like not hiring, laying off, So Lady Lou and I started thinking about the different shows that we could do. And the one that hits me the hardest, the one that I love the most, I look forward to every week, is work from home. Okay? Because a lot of women especially are homeschooling their children and trying to, work. Okay, well that's pretty hard to go off to work when your kids don't have anywhere to go. So what are you going to do? So we came up with a plan to help everybody find a job. Okay, a job, a side hustle, a new business. It doesn't matter what it is. We're going to interview people. We're bringing opportunities in, and I get to share once again. And Lady Lou gets to help me share these opportunities for everyone to work. If they want to work, there's a job for them, and I can prove it.
Yes, we've done 32 of these
32
weekly
weeks.
so far.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. That's right.
So
They're
I'm
available
excited.
on replay at YouTube. Just type in Marion LaSalle in the little search bar on YouTube and punch on her little picture, and the Natural Curiosity shows will appear.
That's great. Well, I want to segue off of what you just talked about, because in 2008, I was working with a man who was a headhunter, and he made upwards of $500,000 a year as a headhunter. And when the economic downturn occurred at that time, the whole business disappeared. So he was suddenly without work, without income. And what it turned out, as we, first we helped him through his grief, but what it turned out, that was a sales position. He hated sales, and he'd been doing it for years. He really was a very spiritual person, more like you, Marion, where he wanted to give and share and help and whatever. And that change gave him the opportunity to do what was closer to who he really was. And that's my guess about what you guys are doing with your program, is you're helping people find a work that's closer to who they really are. And that may be part of what's going on with this shift also.
Yes.
I'm going to prove it to people right now. If you go, everybody here has heard of a podcast, correct? Mm-hmm. And even those of you who are watching this or listening to us on our podcast, you've heard of it if you don't know exactly what it is. If you go to Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com, and do a search where it says Find a Creator and just put in podcasts, you're going to find that people are making thousands of dollars a month by sharing their podcasts with their community. So how are they doing that? Because podcasts are free, right? Well, what they're doing is they're inviting people, they're setting up the Patreon, which is a free account. They're setting it up, and then they're offering to be hanging out with their audience, sharing exclusive things. Their community basically is giving them money, and it's not a charity. These are supporters. Yeah. So I'm looking at one right now. You can't tell that I'm looking at it because I'm magic that way. But I'm looking at one called Dungeons and Daddies, and they're creating premium dad audio content. Now, it's a podcast. These are dads. They're in a minivan. They got golf clubs in the back, and they're talking about whatever, right? Games or whatever. And they're charging $5, $10, or $20 a month, and they have 7,683 patrons.
Wow.
Okay,
we want to talk about dads and golfing.
You do the math, okay? Even if it's the lowest one, $5 a month, these are people that want to be in that community. And so I don't want you to think that you have to do anything that you don't want to. You just heard what Eileen said. If you can find a coach or a therapist or a friend who could pull that out of you, what do you really want to do? What is it that your heart sings? Do you want to play pickleball every day? Do you want to, I don't know what you want to do. You have to figure that out. Then you go find your tribe, or you set yourself up for success on TikTok or YouTube or a podcast, or there's lots of ways you can express yourself. And then you ask your community to support you. Now, I listen to a lady, actually, I watch her every morning at 7 a.m. Central Time on YouTube. She's about 400 pounds, and she decided she was lonely and wanted some friends around her. Well, her friends support her. Let me tell you, she's got lots of them. And every morning for an hour, you go on and you listen to her devotions, and you listen to her stories about how she used to work in Hollywood, and, and you see her little dog. I mean, it's just people, okay? Just people that want to support their people. That's all it is. You don't have to be anybody special. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have anything other than setting yourself up for success with whatever it is that calls to you. What's in here? What kind of message do you have that you want to share? And a lot of people don't know. And Eileen, I'm sure you know about this. Deb, I know you know about this. Lady Lou, you have friends. They still don't know. They're 65 years old and they still don't know what they're good at, right? Or what they want to share.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's so sad because there's so much out there that they can choose from that they're already doing in a lot of cases.
Well, I think I was going to say, I think that's what the issue is, that a lot of times when we think of what am I to do, it's like, what is my life purpose? And what, we try to make it more important or more intense than it is. The real question is to ask is, what do I love doing? What would I do if nobody ever paid me? If I had money in the bank and nobody paid me, what would I do? What would I, what do I enjoy? And other people say, oh, you're so good at it. And I go, oh, no, it's just nothing. Those are the things that we really need to be doing.
And as you can see, emotionalmasteryforlife.com. That's Eileen. Yeah. And Deb, I know Deb has a lot of things that she wants to share. She's on top of it. She was just sharing with me and Lady Lou the other day about a new brain tapping. Tell us a little bit about that. See, I'm intrigued.
So, as you all know, I am a personal development junkie. I have read every personal development book. I've listened to every podcast, and I was introduced from a very close friend and a business partner to a concept called brain tapping. And it basically is designed by a doctor who did a lot of neurological studies and how the brain works, and put together an app with hundreds of modules. So if you wake up and you go, I really need to lose some weight and I've not been doing very well, there's a module on weight loss. And you put on these fancy headphones and there's light therapy and everything's going on. You can do the app without it, but ideally you have these fancy headphones and stuff, which mine are coming on Thursday, and I've been doing it without, so I can't wait. Or if you just have trouble falling asleep at night, there's sleep modules. Some of them are just music. Some of them are rainforest sounds. And the impact that had on me, and I didn't realize it for several days, is I was having these nasty dreams. And I would wake up and they were vivid and I was remembering them. And, my husband caught hell sometimes because I dreamt something that he did, and it's like, I was sleeping,
Oh,
So,
that's hilarious.
but I realized a few days later, after doing the deep sleep modules, is I wasn't having those dreams, or at least I wasn't recalling them anymore. And, I've had, some challenges this past week with family, and, I was just beside myself, and I could still get a good night's sleep and have some creative ideas when I woke up.
What's the difference between what you're talking about and hypnosis?
It's complicated. It's all neurological. This guy's been doing these studies on the brain forever. So you might hear a voice going on in the one ear and then have another voice come in the left ear, and it does totally different things. And you don't even have to be. The amazing thing is, so you have a voice here and you have a voice here and you have a voice here, and you don't even have to sort that all out because it's talking to your other than conscious mind.
Oh, I like that.
My friend Boniel says that the brain likes uniqueness. So, for example, if I want to turn my head further than I'm turning it, what I want to do is look back here while I have my head turned. And if I do that a few times, I'll be able to turn this direction more easily and more fully. So that sounds like that's part of what's going on, is the brain gets distracted in various ways, and therefore then it's open to more. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I just again, I want to share it with the world. I'm like Marion is like, because when I found this, and it takes a lot to trip my trigger. I mean,
kind of jaded, are you?
Maybe that's the New York background to me. I don't know, but
That's great.
But and he can, and I've worked with Paul Magistri for years, and he knows that if he presents something and it's like, nah, there is no getting over it. I mean, you can sell me all you want, but when he talked about this, I was like, I've practiced tapping with my chiropractor, and tapping.
Oh yeah, the tapping thing, yeah.
And so
I never did.
And my husband, on the other hand, is totally different than me in some respects because he is an engineer. And so to him, all this stuff is gypsy oil and smoke and mirrors. And he listened to the webinar, and I can get to the recording if you want, and of this doctor, most of the stuff is like, I don't really care why it works, but if it works, right? And my husband said, would you download that on my phone? Because I'm really intrigued now. And my husband is never intrigued by this stuff. So
I am too.
Well, Deb, I'm going to invite you right now to be on our show to talk about this. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure. Of course.
Great. I'll be in touch.
Of course. Right. Now, I think it's interesting that my 3 friends here that are surrounding me are all into helping other people. Okay, so Lady Lou has found this this air device that is really helping people breathe, and she's got this beamer thing that does all it's and look at Eileen, she's helping us with our emotions and making sure that we don't kill people. And
I've been working at that for half a century. Look how good I've done.
How are you with teenagers?
Oh, they're my best. Yeah, that's where I'm best.
See, thank God somebody is. Yeah, I'm afraid of the dogs and I'm afraid of the kids. Okay, because they can both get over on me. They know how to push my buttons.
Well, my contention is that children are supposed to push your buttons. That's their skill, and the reason they push people's buttons is because they're observers. They're constantly watching us, and they find all the places where we're not complete, where our weak points, and that's called pushing buttons. They push you there, and the idea is they're calling your attention to what you need, where you need to grow.
Interesting. Okay,
I can buy that.
Lady Lou was babysitting. How old is your niece?
Right.
7.
Yeah.
See, I've never raised children, so watching her grow up has been a beautiful experience that I had missed because I didn't have children, but I'm making up for it now.
Good.
But now that's a totally different world when they're your own.
Yeah, you can send them home.
That's right. It's like grandchildren,
Yeah, but nonetheless, I think it's really great. You remind me one time I talked with my granddaughter's aunt and uncle, and the 2 girls were staying over there. They were maybe 8 and 10, something like that. And the uncle looked at me when I visited, and he said, "We don't have children. We don't know how to raise children. These girls have ice cream for breakfast when they're here."
Good for him.
I know. That's what
when I told my son about it, he said, "Kids should have all kinds of experiences, of course."
Of course.
Ice cream for breakfast, yes. Oh, another thing Deb did for me was every morning I have something that makes me feel good, and I get to drink it. It's called Zeal, and I just absolutely love it. I look forward to it every day, and there's different flavors. Now I'm on the mango. It's delicious. But I think that, as you can see, everybody that I surround myself with, setting myself up for success, is having fun friends that are interested in unique and cool things that are going to help everybody. So
that's really wonderful.
I want everybody to set themselves up for success. And here's my freebie. You ready?
Oh.
I'm willing to talk to you. I don't have anything to sell you. Okay, I just want to help you set yourself up for success. Now, I'm going to show the little thing that I made again because I think this is important. We didn't really go into detail in 45 minutes, but I think if you follow some of this, you can be happier and healthier. Find your people. Look for opportunities in your mistakes. Be kind to people and animals, of course. And listen to your intuition. Trust your gut. You can do it. I know you can. I hope you all have enjoyed tonight. I certainly did, because you were all talking about me. It's all about me, right?
Well, not necessarily, Marion. You have shared the scene with all three of us. See, she is into sharing because she wanted to know what we have to say about her. So she has shared right here in front of our eyes because that's who Marion is.
And Marion, you're illustrating the power of all of us sharing who we are and what's important to us and what we love to do. It inspires the rest of us. You're an inspiration to all of us. And as you are, Lou and Deb, I've been inspired by you today too. So and when we tell our stories, that's what we do. We inspire other people because we think a little differently than we were thinking when we were just in our own brain.
That's right. Would you like to take us out, Eileen? Thank our audience.
Well, I guess. So for Lady Lou and Marion and Deb and myself, we actually want you to have the most amazing amount of success. And don't let anything get in your way. And don't give up because something pops up in your way. But I hope you had a chance to take a list. Marion, could people get a copy of that list if they write you?
Absolutely. Just go to naturalcuriosity.life, and there's plenty of ways to get a hold of me there.
Okay, so once again, we've got you giving, and that's a wonderful thing to set up for this week. Give from your heart to everybody that you know, and forgive yourself for anything you don't do exactly the way you think you really want to.
That's a biggie.
Right. And thanks for being here for Ask the Experts.
Thank you all for being here.
Good night.
Good night.